Hello, thank you very much to anybody who's listening, whether in the live stream or later on in the watching it not live, in other words, recorded. So I decided to say something about the flat Earth final experiment, so-called final experiment. I've only really just caught up with what's been going on because a few months ago I watched a video by Professor Dave, and I learned that a very wealthy man has offered to prominent flat earthers to take them to Antarctica and demonstrate to them the 24 hours sun, that you have daylight. The sun is always visible in the sky 24 hours a day. And that this would be convincing proof that the Earth is a globe, because it doesn't fit a flat Earth model. And I was amused to think that somebody would spend so much money transporting science deniers to Antarctica, thinking that a demonstration would prove to them anything at all. There's already sufficient evidence and demonstrations that the Earth is a globe. So quite clearly, anybody who's denying that evidence, nothing is going to convince them, because even if you could take them into space and orbit the Earth, they would come back and say that they've been put to sleep and they've been fed this through some kind of um, virtual reality simulation that could feed images into their brain. They will always find some way of defeating the proof. And I think other people at the time, I think even Professor Dave at the time, was saying that um, there would be excuses. They would be the flat Earth community would reject it, and it would be no proof at all in that sense, because these are people that have already been shown sufficient evidence and they've rejected it. So spending $34,000 or $35,000 on each of these science deniers really, to me, is sort of um, platforming the whole sort of concept of science denial, and even validating it in a sort of weird sort of way. When I was looking through some of the comments on Professor Dave's channel, there were people coming forward and saying, "Hey, I'm a flat earther. um, can you take me to Antarctica?" Yeah, because I mean, I would love a free trip to Antarctica myself. I mean, it would be fantastic. Why reward this arrogant kind of denial, this dishonest, arrogant denial? Why reward the worst of people, or not quite the worst of people, because obviously the worst of people are those who do physical injuries to others and etc. But people who are online spreading lies, either knowingly or just through sheer ignorance, should not really be rewarded. So yeah, of course I would love to have gone myself, but nobody's got anything to prove to me, because I accept the scientific fact that the Earth is a globe. Besides that, I've done my own experiments. I happen to live near the seaside, and I've been out with my binoculars. I've seen a ship go over the horizon, and I've seen the bottom of the ship disappear first, and I've seen the top of the ship disappear last. I don't know how flat Earth can account for that. I don't think it can. I think it proves that, for me at least, that the Earth has got a curvature to it. And there are so many other reasons. Why do we see different sets of constellations in different parts of the world? So yeah, there's already sufficient evidence. It's even enough just to say, well, the consensus of scientific opinion, it's an established fact. The Earth is a globe. You could even say, I don't need to go out and do my own research. The scientists have done it. I trust in the science. The consensus is there. If somebody is trying to convince me that a scientific fact is false, then the onus is on them to convince the scientific community that they're correct. So, for the vast bulk of people out there, as Matt Dillahunty said in his video, most people are not equipped to debunk flat Earth. They're not equipped to uh, with evidence to prove that the Earth is a globe. So when flat Earthers come to them and they say, "Well, the Earth looks flat. This is what we observe, and in fact, it is flat." And we've been out with our telescopes and we've been able to see, I don't know, hundreds of miles. And how do you explain that? And as somebody who doesn't know, who is not sort of scientifically minded, hasn't done the research, might think, actually, yeah. Or they might think, well, uh, science is saying that it's a globe. And or they might think, well, uh, science is saying that it's a globe. And which is what I say when when a science denier comes to me on something that I'm not really don't really know too much about. I say, well, I'll have to go with the scientific consensus because you're just one person. I don't know what your credentials are. These things are usually settled at a very high level. Scientific papers go backwards and forwards. So you trying to convince me that something which is accepted as a scientific fact is not true is not going to convince me because I don't know whether I can't assess your claim. So yeah, go and convince, go and win your Nobel Prize, go and publish your papers. And if science starts saying, well, the Earth is flat, if scientists start coming out saying, well, actually, yeah, there would be headlines everywhere. Think, oh, right, oh, really? Is the Earth flat? And then maybe I might think, well, why? And that would be a huge, it would be a huge surprise. But no, that's not happening. And particularly flat Earth. There are so many science deniers out there who have got some academics on their side. So with the vaccines, you can find people with PhDs working in universities and hospitals even who are vaccine deniers. Yeah, there are some who've got letters after their name and who are getting paid money to do real research, and they are science deniers on the vaccines and on lots of other things as well. The theory of evolution. You've got people working in universities who are creationists, people who are teaching biology and they're creationists. Creationists can point to them and say, yeah, we've got academics on our side. However, flat earthers haven't got any geophysicists on their side. There are no academics. I've done research on this. There are no academics who are being paid by universities to do teaching work or research, or teaching work and research, who support flat Earth. There is a Central American, I think he's Mexican, or is it Uruguay? There is a former professor who is a geophysicist, and he turned to flat Earth and he resigned. I don't know. I think that he turned to flat Earth for whatever reason, and his university, the spin on it is that he resigned, but I don't know. It may well be that he resigned after pressure from his university because they didn't want to be made a laughing stock out of. And this so-called academic has got followers. He's on YouTube, etc. I don't know what his motivation is, whether it's money or whether he just gets a kick out of sort of being the odd kid on the block or just different or whatever. I don't know. But he is an isolated case and he's not being paid. He's no longer being paid by the academic community for any work that he does. I think he's making money out of social media or something like that. But apart from him, Flat Earth has got no real paid academics on their side, which really speaks volumes uh, about how laughably bad the case is for Flat Earth. So let's just you've got there are some comments coming in. Let's just have a look. Extreme motivated reasoning and confirmation bias. One of the says Aaron Lates. PT194 says one of the flat earthers who went said he is no longer a flat earther. No, look, PT, I followed this up. Jaren, yeah, okay. I followed this up because I know that I think Matt mentioned him, and I think one or two others mentioned him. And then I went to a channel where Jaren's full statement was read out. He said that he'd been threatened, that the flat earth community had turned on him because he said that the experiment was real. In other words, they really were in Antarctica. They were not in a studio, and this was a real experiment, and they really did see a 24-hour sun. He said all these things, and the flat earth community turned on him. One flat earther who's got a channel with tens of thousands of subscribers said that, well, Jaren is a liar and he'll have to live with this lie for the rest of his life. And he also made that statement about others on the trip who'd said it wasn't in a studio, because one of the things that's being put around by, and it's all so predictable, that flat earthers who didn't go would find a way of maintaining their delusions or their dishonesty, saying, oh, it was done in a studio, or oh, um, the camera didn't, the the shape of the sun changed and it shouldn't do. Uh, if it was a real sun, the shape of the sun wouldn't change as it was tracked around the sky doing its orbit. And so, yeah, it must be a studio. I mean, if it was a studio, do you not think that they would make sure that the shape of the sun was absolutely perfect so that somebody wouldn't come along and say, oh, the shape of the sun changed? And no, the shape of the sun didn't change, as has been explained by Professor Dave and others and the people who were on the trip. The camera equipment and the lighting and everything, as the sun was going around, I don't know, appeared to sort of go slightly oval as it went through a certain part of the orbit or something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah. So Jaren has said this. Um, he has said that, look, I'm not a glober. Okay, now listen very carefully. He said, go and find his statement. He says, I'm not a glober. What we need to do as a community is work this out. And he said he's going to start a radio show, and we as a community are going to try and work this out. So, in other words, they still believe in flat Earth, or at least they're willing to allow that there still could be a flat Earth, and we need to account for how this could be. That we did go to Antarctica and we saw a 24-hour sun, exactly as science said, exactly as a globe model said, that you would see a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. So no, he is not a glober. He does not accept that the Earth is a globe. He's confused. He's seen evidence, and he says the community needs to work it out. So you put an interpretation on that. What exactly does he mean by that? To me, what it means is that he still wants there to be a flat Earth, and that there has got to be a way of explaining this in a flat Earth model. So, and I've no doubt that there will be flat earthers who revise their model and say there still is a flat Earth. Thank you very much for the 35 grand it cost for each of those flat earthers to go out there and look at this evidence, which a lot of the flat Earth community accept that they did go, they were in Antarctica, and they did see a 24-hour sun. What they're now saying is this does not destroy flat Earth model, that we need to revise our model to account for it. So that's not um, that's not going where the evidence leads you, of course. That is a classic case of trying to shoehorn your model into um, a shape which is the wrong size. I'm sorry, that's into a shoe which is the wrong size. I'm getting my metaphors all screwed up. So yeah, yeah, he did say I'm no longer a flat earther, PT194, but he also said I'm not a glober. I think when he said he's not a flat earther, he might have meant he's not in the, he considers himself now to be sort of out of the flat earth community. But why did he say that he's not a glober and he's going to start a radio show and try and work this out? They seem to be sort of contradictory. It may well be that in the same way that I'm not the theist, but I accept that a God may exist. He's saying, I don't believe in flat Earth, but the Earth may well be flat. And I'm going to try and prove that it is flat by working out this 24-hour sun, which we saw in Antarctica. Now, of course, a lot of flat earthers, when they were watching the live streams, there were multiple live streams. It seems that several of them were doing live streams at the same time, and there were some flat earthers, quite a few, who said something about, oh, it's a green screen or something. I'm not too sure what they meant by that. Maybe somebody can explain it to me. And they were saying, oh, it's being done in a studio. You can see because he's got a patch on his, and the way that it's moving, or I don't know. They were trying to imply or say that no, this isn't right. They've taken them to a studio, and they're all now shills. They're being paid to support Globe Earth. Can you imagine that? Obviously, all of those who were there, I understand, have said no, we weren't in a studio. But the easy get out for a flat earther on that is, well, of course they've been paid. This wealthy man has paid them. Not wealthy man, he's being backed up by the elite, who don't want the populace to know that the Earth is flat. Because if people find out that the Earth is really flat, they won't be able to handle it. They won't go to work. The economy will collapse. They will stop paying their debts. This is the whole sort of trump card for any conspiracy theorist. If you say, well, what's the harm in us knowing that there are aliens who visit us regularly and who are in contact with the government? What's the harm in the populace knowing that? Oh, well, people won't be able to handle it. It's too big. It's just too cataclysmic. It will just boggle people's minds. Uh, the economy will suffer. People won't bother going into work because they'll think the world's coming to an end. And yeah, so they keep it all secret. Now, I've got a friend who's a flat earther. I mean, not just a friend, he's my best friend. He's been a flat earther now for how long? Well, not too long after he became a moon hoaxer. And chemtrail believer, 9/11 inside job, the whole shebang. And I thought, okay, I can handle you being a flat earther. Sorry, I can handle you being a moon hoaxer. Um, I can handle you denying either. I can handle chemtrails, and I mean, even though I didn't believe in any of them, of course, I can handle you being all these things. But when he eventually came and said, "Oh, by the way, the Earth is flat as well," I thought, "Oh God, I don't think I can handle you being a flat earther." That is the that is the one that made me think he's completely nuts. He's also somebody who believed, like a lot of flat earthers believe, that if you try to go to Antarctica, there'll be troops there with machine guns, and that you're not allowed to go there. It's a forbidden zone. And I don't know how he or flat earthers account for that there are people going out there. Flat earthers have been taken out. There were no men with machine guns, um, and they didn't really have any issues whatsoever. They just went out there and they were free to move around and do as they please. I think there's a settlement out there. Is it McMurdo or something like that? Go and do their work. I'm not sure if they went via that route and then went on to a good vantage point to see the 24-hour sun from there. I'm not really too sure, but any of those, there must have been a lot of surprise initially from flat earthers that people were being taken out to Antarctica because they believe it's a forbidden zone. However, they can account for that. They can simply say, well, the elite are setting this whole thing up, and it's being controlled. The military will clear that area so that these shills can be taken in. Well, that doesn't really work though, does it? Because if they're saying that it's a studio, then nobody went anywhere at all. They could have done it anywhere. I believe that some flat earthers have been saying, oh, it wasn't Antarctica, it was Australia, and they did it in a studio. And as somebody pointed out, why would they need to do it in Australia? If they're just going to do it in a studio, why not do it in America? It'd be where all the technology is there. They've got Paramount Studios and everything, where they could do all the technical work. So yeah, they went to Union Glacier, not McMurdo Station. Okay, that's fine. I didn't know that. Thanks for that information. So I think, yeah, the point that Matt made, which I wholeheartedly agree with, Matt Dillahunty, I watched his piece on it, is that this is not the final experiment. And okay, I've titled my live stream Final Experiment Fail. That's not that the final experiment worked in the sense that it proved that there's a 24-hour sun. It didn't need proving. Didn't need proving. What's a fail is that it has not put flat earthers out of business. If anything, it's feeding the flat earthers because they've now got more material for clickbait to make videos out of how the elite tried to fool us with final experiment or something, or how the shills, the dishonest shills who've sold out on flat earth, they've been paid. Yeah, you could easily claim, well, they've been paid, they've been threatened. Of course they'll say it was all real. They were paid up front, they're all millionaires now, but they've been told not to openly spend the money, otherwise they'll be shot. you can dream up any um, conspiracy, any hypothesis about any of these things, and if a skeptic says yes, but what about this, what about that, you can always say the elite have got all that covered because either people can't handle it, or the researchers will be shot and killed, and so will their families, and you can cover everything. And I've pointed out to some conspiracy theorists, you realize that that can be used as a defense for any conspiracy theory, for any theory. I could make up a theory, or there are lots of conspiracies out there which contradict yours, or which are different from yours, and they say the same thing to me. How do I know which one of you is correct? So yeah, it's frustrating, but I can't help feeling that this final experiment thing has played into the hands of flat earthers, because the bulk of them were never going to accept it, were they? Yeah, they were never going to accept it because, as Hollywood has shown, you can do amazing things with CGI. look at the amazing film Passengers with who was in that? Jude Law and Jennifer. What's her surname? She did the Hunger Games. Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah, that film, the CGI in that is just absolutely amazing. Looks like this space vehicle really is being hit by a asteroid storm, and yeah, I mean, I suppose it could all be faked in a studio. So clearly, this was never going to impress anybody except for those who went. Those who were actually there knew it was real. However, they've not all come out and said, "Okay, we accept it. We're no longer flat earthers." So yeah, it's a fail in that sense, that they haven't all come out and said, "Okay, the Earth is a globe. We've been stupid. We've seen the evidence, and that's the end of it." It's not the end of it. It will never be the end of it, because, as Matt Dillahunty said, even if you fly people out into space and you show them the globe, you show them the Earth, you show them the curvature, they'll say, "Well, the glass that we looked out, it was distorting. And it made it look like it's a curvature, but it's not." And or this was all fake. I was drugged and I thought I saw it, but I believe that I was resuscitated. I was brought back to consciousness when I was just I was put in a bed. I was drugged, and I was fed all this sort of virtual reality stuff or something like that. They're always gonna say this because they came to flat Earth, despite the mountain of evidence for a globe Earth. So why do you think that taking them to Antarctica is going to actually make them believe in the globe model? Okay, so let's see. PT194. Who is Chris Pratt? Is he somebody who's gone from being a flat earther to to believing in the globe model? I must say that I find. Oh, sorry. Passengers. Yeah, yeah. The film Passengers. Um, yeah, pretty good film actually. I thought very good film. Um, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I don't want to get sidetracked because I want to stay on the subject of flat Earth. I suppose that this movement exploded. It exploded with the advent of with the advent of YouTube. Really, YouTube has really been a um, means for communities to come together, and there are people who get look. Let's say that there are um, let's say there are two categories of flat earthers or flurfers, as we seem to be calling them. There are those who are making money out of it and who've got channels on YouTube, and then there are those who are consuming it. I'm more worried not about those who are making money. I'm worried about those who've got no financial stake in it, their psychological state, and how they came into this situation. Because obviously, people who are doing it as a hobby and are making money, they've found that they can get tens of thousands of people to watch videos about this and are making money out of it. They've obviously got financial motivation, whether they truly believe that the earth is flat or whether they're just simply faking belief in that model in order to keep the money rolling in. I don't know. But there's no doubt that there are a lot of people, those who consume flat earth content, who truly believe that the earth is flat despite all the evidence to the contrary. So my friend, why did he why did he become a flat earther? I wish I really knew the answer to that question. I suspect that he's led quite an isolated life. He's 68 years old. He retired about, I don't know, 8 years ago. So he's had a lot of time on his hands. He never married. He's got no children. He lives on his own. I suppose in many ways he probably falls into the profile. Not that I've seen any statistics. I'm probably just guessing that a lot of flat earthers out there maybe are quite sort of isolated people and looking for a community, and that's more important to them than the confirmation that their belief is true. That's what really counts for them. In the same way that in religion, community binds people together and it perpetuates and sustains the religions out there. I know I've seen evidence of that. I've seen church communities and I've seen religious communities and how important it is to them to at least maintain a pretense of belief which somehow binds them all together. It's a common belief. Now, my belief in low model community, I suppose that in a way I'm sort of part of the atheist community because I've got a channel and you know I'm sort of um, I'm one of the people who is on the atheist scene. But I must say that I very rarely communicate with fellow atheists outside of what I do on YouTube. I haven't got anybody that I'm communicating regularly with by email. I very rarely get emails from any atheists. I sometimes get an email from somebody asking me, I don't know, give me your take on determinism. and I do not correspond with people who communicate with me by email. I just don't. I haven't got time, and I don't even reply. If I had a communication from somebody who's got an atheist channel and they've got a subscriber base, or a Christian even with a subscriber base, and they ask me to collaborate on something, or they want to do a, I don't know, a joint video, I'd be interested in that. But I'm not interested in exchanging emails with random people who don't have YouTube channels on subjects related to what I'm doing on YouTube. So yeah, I'm not really. So anyway, yeah, just coming back to it, yeah, community is important, but I can absolutely guarantee you that I'm not an atheist and I'm not in the atheist community because I'm a lonely person and I need this community for any reason at all. I don't need the community. I don't need the atheist community. I'm not a lonely person. I mean, even when I spend time alone, I'm not a lonely person. I like my own company, and I'd be quite happy as a hermit. I mean, as it happens, I've got people in my life, but if they weren't there, it wouldn't really be too much of a problem for me, and I wouldn't need to replace that by signing up to some kind of um, crazy. But there are a lot of people out there who are lonely, isolated. They haven't got much to do. Um, they haven't got much to do with their time, and they obviously get something out of being in that community. And maybe the belief that they know something that the vast bulk of people don't, that we've all been fooled and they haven't. This is another reason that I think conspiracy theories do so well, because people think they're in the know. They've got the inside track on all these things that are going on. And gullible idiots like me and the rest of us are having our strings pulled, are having the wool pulled over our eyes. The elite are manipulating us with false information all the time. We're the stupid ones and they're the clever ones. And obviously, that's something else. If you're a, I mean, imagine if you're a conspiracy theorist and you believe that, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that people don't know about, which affects them. They're being manipulated, and you're walking around and you see gullible people everywhere, and you're feeling smart and clever with yourself because you think, well, I know something that you guys don't. I know how you're being manipulated. But because I know about that, I'm not being manipulated. I'm the smart one. You can see why conspiracy theories do so well, and why the community is growing all the time, because people like to feel clever and smart. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's partly to do with self-esteem. I think people who are lacking self-esteem and feel isolated can get a lot out of these delusions and these conspiracy theories and unsubstantiated claims, etc. I think it's a matter for psychology to study. I'm sure that there are people at the moment doing papers and studying conspiracy theorists and flat earthers and trying to find out what it is that makes them hold these irrational beliefs. And of course, I appreciate immediately that there are plenty of flat earthers out there now who are laughing at me, saying I'm the deluded one, I'm the one that's being fooled by the elite, who know that the earth is flat, who know that there's a wall of ice around the perimeter of the world, that there's a dome and not a sky, and that all the stars are like artificial, and I don't know, and that the elite are pulling the strings, or there are aliens behind it all. So, what a bizarre world! What a bizarre world that we live in. But speaking for myself, um, well, look, you've either got to put your trust in people who are not experts, multiple diverse theories about the nature of reality, not theories, hypotheses, shall we say, or claims, or you've got to go with the scientific consensus and acknowledge that that same scientific community has been incredibly successful. They've proven time and again how successful science is through medicine, through technology, all these things work. There are drugs that you can take to make you better, vaccines work, etc., wiped out smallpox. And you can either go with the side that did all that, or you can go with the side that um, uh, makes makes up things, or uh, takes takes some facts and tries to spin a narrative out of it, tries to lead the evidence where they want it to go, refuse to accept perfectly good proofs for obvious things, and are obviously just in complete denial about facts of the world. So yeah, I'll go with science, thank you, not the fringe that is currently publishing pseudoscientific nonsense and claims on YouTube. Okay, well, I think that's about it for now. Yeah, so it's a fail. The Antarctica experiment, the final experiment, yeah, it's a fail simply because it hasn't put this to bed. It hasn't really resolved anything. It's been a lot of money spent, and I would not advocate any more money being spent on this. And I mean, even me making this video, I'm perpetuating it. I'm feeding into it as well, because we're creating dialogue with these people, and it's the kind of claim in a way that needs to be ignored, in the way that maybe 50 years ago, if anybody had said it, they would have been laughed out, and they would have been just ignored. Oh, don't worry about him. He's just, he's just crazy, believes the earth is flat. And a lot of people are saying that now, except that the flat earthers, you've got to give them some credit. They've tried to make their case appear coherent and sophisticated. And as Matt said, most people out there, most people viewing that content are not equipped to defend globe model, are not equipped. They wouldn't know how to prove that the earth is a globe. Yeah. So um, this is why we see with apologetics, with religion, we've seen, is it Cliff Knetchley? I did a video on this. He was out there and he said, there were some students standing around. You, sir, where did everything come from? Well, um, uh, the Big Bang. Right, but where did the Big Bang come from? Well, you see, you don't know, do you? You don't know. You think that something that can come from nothing. How crazy is that? And that's what atheists are saying. You think that something can come from nothing. So something can't come from nothing. The only evidence we've got is that something comes from something. And the universe is something. It couldn't have come from nothing, and it must have come from something, and that something is a God. Where else could it have come from? Now, those students were standing around in a circle, and they weren't equipped to deal with him. And I don't know what they thought, but you can take false claims. You can take a sort of series of false claims, or a scheme, a master claim with lots of false claims behind it. You can make it appear reasonable to somebody who's not equipped to deal with it. But that's not how we establish whether something is true or not. So just because your average Joe in the street can't deal with somebody like Cliff Knetchley saying, where did the universe come from? Who created the universe? Or he's trying to lead him to the answer. Well, I suppose there must be a creator. Yeah, must be a creator. God must exist. Just because there are people out there who can't deal with these questions doesn't improve the case for any of these claims. The only way to have these claims tested, particularly scientific claims, take them to the universities, where it's the business of academia to deal with scientific claims. It's not my business to deal with scientific claims or people in the street. It's the business of experts in the universities to deal with scientific claims, particularly those which try to overturn accepted facts. And this is where flat Earth and lots of other things have failed. They've got absolutely zero traction in any of the academic institutions. And if you put that to them, they'll just turn around and say, well, there's too much money in the globe Earth model. What do you expect the scientific community to do? If it came out that there was a flat Earth, geophysicists would have to be resigning their posts. The whole of academia would collapse, and this cash cow would stop, and that can't be allowed to happen. So we'll never get the academic community admitting that there's a flat Earth. And this is what is being said time and time again, not just about flat Earth, but about lots of other things as well, vaccines, the whole lot. As I've said, you could make up any claim. I mean, I could make up the claim that I don't know. There's some there's some pink dragon flying around, and that's the real God, and the authorities know about it, and it's actually pulling all the strings. And the reason they won't say anything is because it'll be too much for people to handle. Too much money will be lost, etc., etc. Yeah, so you can make up any claim you want, and you could say, well, the elite won't let us know because of this or that reason, which, because it can apply to any kind of claim or any claim at all, contradictory claims, to me, it's worthless as evidence to support anything at all and has got to be disregarded. Okay, so I think I've made my point anyway. That yeah, this Antarctica thing was a fail. It was a scientific success, but it was a fail in terms of convincing flat earthers that the Earth is a globe. Um, let's have a look. PT194 says you need to consider those who are on the brink of falling down the rabbit hole too. TFE help many that we don't even hear from. Who's TFE, or what is TFE? I wonder. Maybe you could just respond to that. Um, yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, the final experiment. All right. Um, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that, PT. Um, yeah, of course, a lot of hardcore flat earthers will be denying it, but there will be those who were maybe tempted to believe in flat Earth that will accept it and say, "Oh, okay, all right then. Flat earthers have been there, and they've said it's not in a studio, and yeah, it looks like the Earth probably is a globe." Yeah, okay, I accept that. So in that sense, yeah, I agree with you. It's not a complete fail. It's only a fail in the sense that um, it's not going to put enough flat earthers out of business. We're still going to see new channels popping up, making money out of this nonsense, and we're still going to see a lot of people believing in it. Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to end it there. Thanks very much for joining me. Hope you, I don't know, hope you got something out of that. Not much. I'm not really saying anything which hasn't been said by others, but anyway, at least you've heard my opinion about it. Bye for now. Good night.